Have you ever noticed there's a lot of buzzwords used when talking about health and disease today, particularly related to chronic disease? We hear a lot about behaviors, exposures, metabolism, aging, and body weight, for example. While these all sound like very basic terms, there's a general tendency to try to link them all together in different ways throughout the body of current knowledge and media outlets. In this video, we take a look at a subject that showed up in my feed, published by SciTechDaily, called New Study: Smells Influence Metabolism and Aging. Essentially, this looks at smells and pheromones in mice and examines the role that could play in their outcomes. However, when we examine the original article by Dr. Michael Garrett, we find that the summary connects some buzzwords that isn't supported by the research. Let's take a look. If you'd like to learn more about the vision and mission of Zazari Project, be sure to check out zazariproject.com. Here's the SciTechDaily article that connects odors, metabolism, and aging. So there are several buzzwords here. Notably, the word influence conveys a lot of uncertainty and flexibility in how all of these things potentially relate. All that really says is it looks like smells have something to do with metabolism and aging. This first picture caption reports that the University of Otago in New Zealand, researchers found that exposure to female odors and pheromones can cause weight loss and extend lifespans in mice, with potential implications in humans. Okay, so these researchers have discovered that word in science is overused today. I would say have observed that exposure to female odors and pheromones in mice can lead to weight loss and longer lifespans. Dr. Garrett, the lead researcher, comments that this study reveals that sensory cues may have a more widespread physiologic effect on metabolism and aging. The word may means he doesn't know, and there's a lot of uncertainty there. In their studies, the female odors slow sexual development of the female mice, but consequently extends their lifespan. Those same odors can increase male mouse energy expenditure, which subsequently influences their body weight and body fat levels. It's pretty easy to jump into seeing an evolutionary benefit here as understood today that, well, if there are already fertile females around that are older, well, it's worth slowing down the sexual reproduction and lifespan of the younger ones so that when the older ones die off, then the younger ones can continue. Is that actually true? Who knows? On the flip side, male odors didn't change the lifespan for either the boys or the girls. But in a nutshell, the observation that female odors increase longevity for the females presents a relationship that may help us understand aging. That the boy mice expend more energy around the girl mice isn't unexpected. And evidently the effects are sufficient to induce weight loss and protect males against getting very fat when they are fed high-fat diets or an excess of energy. And all of this goes back to odors. In these following short paragraphs, we see how the dots get connected. First, increasing energy expenditure, followed by inducing weight loss and preventing obesity, followed by improved metabolic health and longevity. So there we see that connecting of the dots and really hammering these insights into a current paradigm and a series of expectations about the relationship of activity, obesity, and longevity. Because as we see it today, chronic disease is the same process in reverse. Reduced energy expenditure leads to obesity, leads to shortened lifespan. It seems so obvious, how could it be anything but true, right? Before we take a look at the original article, this study was funded by the Marsden Fund. It's always good to know who's paying. The Marsden Fund has an association with the Royal Society of New Zealand. Marsden Fund research benefits society as a whole by contributing to the development of researchers with knowledge, skills, and ideas. It is not subject to government socioeconomic priorities. They focus on science, engineering, and math, social sciences, and humanities. So in general, at least on first blush, they appear to be very motivated to advance science for the good of humanity. That sounds good to me. Here's Dr. Garrett's original article published in iScience 21 April 2023. We'll focus mostly on the highlights in the summary. The main highlights include that female odors reduce weight gain and improve metabolic health in male mice. 2, changes in body weight occur by way of particular nerves. 3, the males have to detect these olfactory cues to experience changes in weight, and it has an association with reproduction. And 4, energy expenditure after high-fat diets is linked to a couple of acronyms that I'm not sure what they mean. Notably here is there's no mention of longevity. Let's check the summary. Here he comments that social cues, including those related to the sense of smell, relate to energy changes. So what we're seeing here is a bridge between mind and body. So on the mind side are social interactions. You have two organisms interacting with each other in some way, which is subjective. That the pheromones are a means of communication between them creates an objective communication channel. That basically turns a mind phenomenon, a social phenomenon, into a physical one that conveniently goes on to have a physical manifestation in the body, in this case related to energy metabolism and weight loss. This is a very common strategy for overcoming mind-body dualism that hamstrings science today. As we'll see, anytime a process attempts to do that, it's going to create mind-boggling complexity. Let's see if it happens in this article. So again, we see the female chemostimuli increase the metabolic rate in males so that they're burning more energy, which reduces their body weight and keeps their fat cells from getting too big, even when they're given a high-fat diet. This is mediated through sensory neurons, so there's that physical element that has turned a social scenario into a physical one by way of nerves here. And that by altering that nerve, reproduction still happens, but they don't have the weight loss. But there's no mention of aging or longevity. Going into the introduction, the author talks more about the role of the mouse's reproductive state, which starts to add in a layer of complexity. So not only are we talking about males and females, social situations, odors, nerves, weight loss, adipose tissue, high-fat diets, now we're throwing in reproduction. We're starting to sink into wicked complexity. So now we're talking about testosterone release related to reproductive cycling in females. Aha! Here we start to see lifespan come in female mammals. Energy and lifespan costs of reproduction were traditionally attributed to pregnancy and lactation, but now it's been linked to the act of mating alone, so again, we're getting new layers of complexity. These metabolic changes are hypothesized to contribute to changes in lifespans. And this is referencing a whole bunch of other articles that aren't necessarily this one. To look back at the SciTechDaily article, it says new study shows smells influence metabolism and aging. That was not the product of one study. This study didn't necessarily show that. It was in continuation of other studies and it was pulling ideas together. The article continues into the results section, which quickly becomes loaded with data. There's all kinds of graphs, study design, taking a look at how this neuron appears to function, all of these data points and looking for trends and trying to connect the dots, trying to separate out the role of the olfactory system or the sense of smell system, all these peptides, sex pheromones. This is very, very complex. I'm quite frankly totally lost. And it goes on, more graphs, metabolic responses, here's more illustrations. So we are deep in what I call epicycles, which is what happens when you try to connect mind and body through this very complex understanding of nature that we think is accurate today. And it's overwhelming. There's really no good way to sort this out, and it's going on and on. I wonder how many pages this original article was. Resource table, uncoupling protein expression. Wow. What we see is a tendency to extend concepts into the direction we want things to go. This one involved a scientific study looking at female odors, reproduction, weight loss, metabolism, and longevity, all of which are popular themes in today's popular science. There's an ever-present urge to try to connect all these dots so we can finally find something that helps us lose weight reliably and safely, understand the role of behavior and how it causes disease, and finally, at some level, bringing together mind, behavior, and social elements into body and physical disease that today do not marry well in a singular concept. Sometimes overzealousness to connect dots creates the illusion of understanding and hope for a future that isn't necessarily accurate. And as shown here, as we examine life and living systems as if looking through a drinking straw rather than having a more holistic approach, things will continue to look extremely complex and undecipherable. So we got to keep plugging away to find a new way to think about health and disease. Thanks for listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave your comments below. Have a great day.